So hello, we are here for this summer interview with the new Kingstonian manager Hayden Bird and Kingstonian's newest director, I guess, Paul Hayward. Thanks for your time, gentlemen. Hayden, welcome to Kingstonian.
Thank you.
I guess for people who looked at the table at the end of last season, moving from Merstham to Kingstonian might seem a bit of a downward step, but how easy a decision was that to make?
It's definitely not a downward step. There's no question of that. I think it's exactly the opposite. Merstham is an experience that I really enjoyed in building the club as well as building the team. Obviously, enjoyed a lot of success at Merstham, but sometimes when you are involved in the club as you are, you don't quite realise how big it is. And in non-league football, Kingstonian is a big name. The reason that I come here was easy. It's the challenge of turning the sleeping giant and restoring the club to its former glories. Clearly, in meeting the guys in the football club, there's so many good things that are going on off the pitch. If we can replicate that now with our work on the pitch, I think we're going to enter a really enjoyable period for the club. So in answer to your question, difficult in so much as emotionally you're tied to Merstham, have some really great times there, but football is football, and it was absolutely the right challenge to move on.
Great. Paul, as these things happen when the club's looking for a new manager, there were various names banded around, but how easy a decision was it when Hayden's name was in the frame?
I think we had something like over 30 applications in all, or something like that, and I think we actually sort of tabled about 6 people for interview, and it was a pretty easy choice in the end for us to go with Hayden.
Just to get to know you a little bit, Paul. Yeah. I mean, you've kind of just a director for just over a year or so, something like that.
Yeah, 18 months since I joined the board. I previously met one of the directors, and I'm a trustee and director of the Sparkle charity.
Yeah.
And so I sponsored Sparkle on the back of the shirts. That was now 5 years ago. And I used to live overseas. I've just returned the last 2 years, and the directors asked me if I wanted to get involved. And yeah, I fancied it. And that's it's been a roller coaster ride ever since. And here we are. So you know, I think for us as a group of directors, I love the board itself. Everybody's got their own roles. It's a very tight-knit club in that respect. It's extremely well run, as vis-a-vis the books and everything else that goes with it and everything. So it's very clean like that, and we don't like to tread water. So you know, we're ambitious. I'm ambitious. I want the club to get promoted. I want us to go on a good cup run, same as all the fans.
And I mean, you talk about promotion. Where is it? And maybe both of you can answer this. There's something about, I guess, a club having a natural level almost. And you know, Hayden, you talk about Kingstonian potentially being a bigger club than Merstham. Do you see Kingstonian's natural level as being one tier higher than we are now?
For me, absolutely. Absolutely, I do. Yeah.
What about you?
Without a shadow of a doubt. I think in saying that, it's important to manage expectations. And looking in from the outside, the only criticism that I would give is perhaps that didn't quite happen last season. You know, I think you've got to look at the job more pragmatically and see that in the last 5 years, Kingstonian have finished 18th, 13th, 16th, 7th, 11th, and in that period, the same period that you're talking about whilst I'm at Merstham, there's been 7 different football managers. So in order to get to that next tier, we need to realise that there's no short-term fixes in football. It's stability and work. So I suggest it's not going to happen overnight. Yeah. But the challenge for me is to make sure that it happens.
And I don't want to talk about last season too much, but I think that it is worth a little bit of reflection. Obviously, I think it's fairly well known there was a decent budget last season.
Yep.
When you reflect on that, are you happy with how the summer went? Are you happy? I don't want to get into the kind of to's and froings to do with managers, but when you look at the way kind of you as a board approached that season, were there mistakes made, were there lessons learned? In terms of managers, did you, I guess some people might be saying actually, did Lee end up leaving too late? but in fact actually went afterwards. Could Lee have had more time? How do you, as a board, reflect on the season?
I think we were fairly aggressive in the close season last season, and obviously we picked out some premium players. So I think, obviously, I think in January we were second in the table and all looked rosy, and we were definitely heading for, it seemed, the playoffs. But the wheels came off, and we're loyal to the people that we employ, and so we gave the manager some time, but it seemed that there were issues in the dressing room, etc. And so we had to make a change at that point.
So it wasn't just about on-field results, but there was, I guess, dressing room issues that need to be resolved.
I think
as well.
in general, I think it could be seen. We all found it hard to see that from second we got like a stone. I think we were one out the next 13 games or something like that. It was, and the Dorking game was really, it was tough to bear for all of us.
Yeah, and obviously then Dean came in, and the board have kind of kept, I guess, an admirable silence after that, and there was a little bit of kind of word that snuck out from Dean about various issues. Was there anything that you as a board, I guess, would like to clarify over what happened there, or anything surrounding that? Because it seemed a bit strange, certainly from the outside.
Yeah, no, I think, we would basically put it down. The Dean had some, he had, his son was in an accident, and so, that didn't help his concentration for the, obviously that took priority for him and everything. So, obviously the first couple of results weren't great, but we just, he put his resignation in, we accepted it, he had other things to do, and he moved on, so that was that.
And I guess just to bring that talk on last season to a close, some really nice news earlier this week about the lifetime memberships awarded to Kim, who obviously came in towards the end of the season, and Jamie Street, who are never present and obviously will be around a little bit more. Is there anything you'd like to say about those two?
No, I mean, just great service to the club, and what can we say? And that's what we like about Kingstonian, as Hayden says, it's a long-established club with a good name, and so that's how we like to treat, our supporters and the people that work for us, volunteers as well as employees.
You mentioned about being quite aggressive last summer. When the board sit down to look at kind of plans for the season in terms of both playing personnel and budget, how do you balance where the kind of financial, I guess, like weight goes toward when there is still, and we'll come to it later, but the kind of question around the kind of long-term future for the club?
Well, no, I think, we've learned from last season to a certain extent. That's what we like about Hayden, because it's going to be, I think, more geared towards a team spirit than maybe we had a few last year that were top class, but not performing as a whole team. And we had I think we had 60 players through the door, including loanees and things like that. So we're different tack with Hayden, I think, and as he proved last season with Merston, I think that is going to work for the club.
Hayden, you mentioned in a rival interview after getting the job, not that I'm in any way defensive that we didn't get the first interview, about the exciting plans for the kind of ground and the kind of future in that sense. Obviously, you as a board won't be able to share everything, but is there anything in particular that? No,
we're still heading towards trying to get, obviously being a nomad is not a long-term prospect for the club at all. So that's one of the main functions that I'm involved with is trying to get a facility. We were talking with the casuals, and we're trying down that, but it's a long, complicated road legally as well as everything else.
So plan A at the moment is for long-term ground share with the casuals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but maintaining independence for each club.
Yeah.
But trying to generate revenues, because obviously at the moment we purely get ticket money.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to sustain for the directors in the very long term.
And are there plan Bs and Cs in the works just in case for some reason that doesn't work, or is that kind of like the sole focus at the moment?
No, I think that's pretty much our sole focus at the moment is with them. We've had in-depth discussions, legal as well as with the board of the casuals, and we have a good mindset between us, and working as a team with them as well.
Relationships are good there. There was a bit of a funny statement put out by their chairman midway through last season about a couple of songs sung by Kingstonian fans, but relationships are good at board level anyway?
Yes, I would say we don't have any issues there. We've had a very long meeting up in Newcastle with lawyers and all that, and it came out very positive. So we have to find a mechanism, a legal contract and things like that to sign up on and everything, and that's not going to be quick. But that's a goal, and we need to be able to generate revenues other than just purely ticket sales.
Yeah.
To generate the future prosperity of the club.
Hayden, for you as a manager, are there any concerns that come with a kind of ground share arrangement in terms of priority over the pitch and that kind of stuff, or not too much of an issue?
It's not an issue. The reason that it's not an issue is the way that it was presented to me was very reassuring, and immediately in the short space that I've been here, I've come to trust the directors. I think that we're working really well together off the pitch as well. I think there's a team on the pitch, there's a team off the pitch, and there's a clarity in my mind where these guys want to take the football club, and so it's not something that I have to concern myself with. I'm in the privileged position of just having to concern myself with the results and the performances and the playing side of the club. All apart from that is very clearly in good hands.
And one of the, I guess, kind of areas of tension for the fans last season with the move to the casuals was moving our kind of home night from a Monday night to a Wednesday night. Is that going to be the same next season? Do you have a preference over a preferred midweek night? I know Lee was quite clear that he felt Wednesday gave us an advantage, whereas previous managers, I know Dowth was always really keen on the Monday night thing. Do you have a preference?
Not really. I look at it in a different light. There's pros and cons. If you don't play Tuesday, then you have to readjust the strategic work, the tactical work for the before the game, in preparation for the game, and more so after the game. So I look at it a little bit more strategically. But the plus side to that, of course, is that if we're not playing on a Tuesday, then I have a better opportunity to go and watch opponents that do play on a Tuesday. So there's very much fors and against on it.
And we are going to be staying on a Wednesday this season. Is that the current plan?
Well, if so, yeah, that is it.
Yeah. So looking ahead again a bit more specifically for next season, Hayden, you mentioned it's not going to be a kind of overnight quick fix, but is there a target in mind for where you see, this is where Kingstonian should be in 12 months' time that you've got in mind, or is it just let's do the best we can?
I know the target, and the team know the target.
Okay.
I think it's a little naive to sit here and say we're going to do this and we're going to do that. Everybody will sit here and say at this stage in the league, the football manager will say, the coaches will say they want to win the league, they want to make the playoffs, but there's only one team that can be promoted. There's only one team that can be promoted through the playoffs. There's a different way of gauging success. And there's definitely a process that you go through. So I think there's two sides of the question. The first side of the question is, what's my first goal? My first goal is to significantly improve Kingstonian on and off the pitch. I think it's very important that you mentioned earlier that I've said it in my interviews that we must all pull together to be successful. I've never come across a football club in my career that is successful on the pitch if there are problems off the pitch. Yeah. That unity, I think, is going to be really important for us. I can't promise you that we're going to win the league. I can't promise you that we're going to make the playoffs. I can promise you we're going to try. And I can promise you, the one thing I can promise you is if we don't have the best footballing team in this league, I will be very surprised and I will be very disappointed. I think everybody knows with me how I want my teams to play. And I think that that's really important for Kingstonian. We'll enjoy our victories, but it's really important for the supporters to be able to understand the project, understand how we play. And, the days that we don't win, it may be a frustrating draw, it might even be a disappointing defeat, but they've paid their ticket money and they walk out and they feel as though they've been entertained, they've enjoyed the game, and they see that it's not a bog standard non-league product that they're watching. So, we need to produce a product that the fans can relate to and the fans can enjoy, and will help the Kingstonian fans that have maybe drifted off come back. B, I managed a team that got to the playoff final last year, and we want to go one better. Yeah. I can't sit here and say we're going to. I can sit here and say that we are definitely working towards it.
You talk about the playing style. What does that mean if for K's fans who only watch K's and only see Merston twice a season? What are the hallmarks of a Hayden Bird team?
It will be completely possession based. Okay. I think it's something that the supporters will have to buy into. Okay. everybody that knows me knows that it's a standing joke that I hate non-league football. The ball's in the channel, people shouting in good areas. I've no idea what a good area is. I still don't know what a good area is. I expect my teams to completely dominate the ball. But we won't confuse possession with performance. There's no point in having 60, 70, 80% of the football if we haven't created 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 chances.
Yeah.
The best way that I would describe it is, albeit all the supporters want to win 5-0 every week, I will prefer to win 1-0 and produce great football than to win 5-0 and see the ball launched in the channel. So it's going to be completely possession based from start to finish.
Paul, how important was that for the board to kind of, for that kind of football?
Well, I think what Hayden's going to bring us is a bit more continuity in the team. Right, we've had a lot of players come through by Lee and by Dean. It doesn't make any difference, just with circumstances. And I think based on Hayden's record with most of them last season, you can see the amount of players he used. And I think that's better for a spine in the team that is a regular. Is always there. I think that's what Hayden's going to bring to us.
So let's move on to players. I know there's still some deals that maybe by the time this video's out will be out there that we can't talk about yet. But are there some names that you do want to mention that you're bringing to the club?
I think this weekend, as I said before we started filming, the weekend ahead is a big weekend for the club. But I don't think you'll be surprised to hear that the likes of Kenny Beanie, who was in the Supporters Player of the Year team, I hear he'll be wearing a Kingstonian shirt next season. Ollie Cook, who was in the Supporters Player of the Year team, he'll be wearing a Kingstonian shirt next season. Fabio, who's a player that I've developed, went to Woking, come back. You know, it's not going to be a takeover of Merstham. There's a balance to be struck, and the balance is quite simply this. You know, I want a squad of 18 senior players. That squad will work together. It will also create not only a continuity, as Paul says, but a platform for the young players to come and join the first team squad. I think, to be open with you, the team needs completely rebuilding. I think you need to turn the place upside down, tip it out, start again. And I don't think any of the supporters will be surprised or disappointed to hear that. The difficulty is this. So, whilst you don't want to turn Merstham into Kingstonian, of course not, you don't want to sign 18 new players and for me to spend the first 4 months of the season teaching them my way of football. So there will be players from Merstham that will come over. I think that's got to be really good news for Kingstonian. This team was the best footballing team in the league last season, and it got to the playoff final. And it will be complemented by the likes of Rob Tolfrey, who's obviously contracted to the club, Sean Cloressi, who I met on Monday again. He's fully fit, he's clear of his operation, so that's obviously very good news. And players that, you know, I can see that we need and we need to improve upon. So there'll be players that will be also complementing the Merstham players, the Kingstonian players, and 3 or 4 players that I had my eye on, whether I'll be at Merstham or Kingstonian, will be coming into the fold.
Are there any other players from last season who weren't contracted from Kingstonian who you're having conversations with and trying to keep around, or is it really looking for that clean slate?
No, there are players. There are players that I'm having discussions with at the moment. And the discussions are honest, and there's more discussions tomorrow. I'm sure there were some really good lads in Kingstonian last year. But the criteria for those lads is they have to be better than the players that are coming in. And sometimes you just have to shake someone's hand and say it's better to go elsewhere, go and play football. I can't see you going to play football here. So I'm not going to speak ill of any of the Kingstonian players. You know, there's no doubt that the Kingstonian team had quality last year. But I think that it needs a clean sweep. I think we desperately need to start again for me to put my stamp on it. For me to put my stamp on it, it needs my personnel, my lieutenants on the pitch, so the new players can learn from that. And I want the players such as Rob, who will be taught a different way of playing in the first phase of play, such as Sean, who, when he was at Leatherhead, I thought he was the best right back in the league. I think we need to find that player again, as we do with Rob to some degree. I think Rob needs to improve. This guy is a real Kingstonian man. It looks as though the difficulties of the past, he's had the world's weight on his shoulders. So let's release him of that stress and let him get on with the football. And you know, there are some players that are definitely worth conversations that we had. I'm a big fan of the ability of Leo. Leo obviously had a terrible season with injury. But I have to say, in credit to Leo, he recognises that. He recognises how the club looked after him so very well. He feels a big connection with the club, and he wants to prove to Kingstonian that he can be an asset to us next season.
The advantage Leo's got, of course, is that he was injured, so he didn't have to play most of that garbage in the second half of the season, so he isn't tired by the same rush as the rest of the players.
Well, you said that, not me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That's one of the points that Hayden has spoken to every single player that played for us last season. So everybody's had a shot.
All 80 of them or whatever it was.
Not the loans.
I hope you're paying his phone bill.
I made contact with all of the players that were Kingstonian players.
Yeah.
Some of them wanted to move on anyway,
Yeah.
which is perfectly understandable. Some of them wanted to establish exactly what the situation was. But this is a new start, and you know, I've said to all the club that I understand the questions of last season, I understand the questions to Paul of last season. For me, last season is irrelevant, and you know, I want everybody to turn the page now and look forward. And perhaps in doing that as a club, that will make us stronger. Trust me, in football, the successes are more enjoyable when you've been through the bad moments and the disappointments. So if we can bring success to the football club and everybody can learn from last season, then I think our successes and our celebrations will be that much more enjoyable.
One thing you said in the couple of statements you've put out already about the importance of you as a manager connecting with youth teams and everything else the club does. How do you see your role as manager at Kingstonian then? Because I think we've had managers in the past who have done that, we've had managers in the past who have purely focused on the first 11. Where do you see your role fitting in?
Yeah, it's a good question because there are different styles, you're absolutely right. I think one of the reasons why there was an attraction for me to come and for me to come is that I'm local. Sometimes if you're not local as a manager, it can be difficult to connect with the whole club. I see the job of the football manager not as the head coach. I see the job as the football manager as the guy that is the flag bearer for the whole of the football club. That goes beyond the first team. You know, I met the guys in the youth section. What a fantastic job that they do. You know, the volunteers, the people behind the scenes. These are the people that are imperative to running non-league football clubs. So I get the easy bit. The players get the easy bit. You know, we do the best bit. We go and play football on a Sunday. But Saturday, I beg your pardon.
That would be a big
yeah. we go and play football on a Saturday. These guys do so much work to ensure we can play football on a Saturday. I think it's important to reach out to everybody. But also, and I think this will go in tandem with what Paul is explaining about the plans for the football club, we need to reach out to the community. And in doing that, make sure that Kingstonian Football Club is a part of the community. So that's the job of the football manager. I'll give you an example. I think Alan Dowson was fantastic at that. He was great in putting the Kingstonian name out there. Since then, probably there's been a different focus by the football managers, but I think we need to return to that. I think we need to make sure that the club is all working as one and the supporters feel a part of that in bringing success to the pitch.
You mentioned the relationships with supporters. Paul, I think it's probably fair to reflect that there were times where the relationship between some of the fans in the club last season wasn't what it could have been. There were concerns about communication and stuff about that. I guess a couple of questions. How would you as a board reflect on that? Is there anything you could have done better, anything you'd have done differently? But also on the other hand, how do we as supporters better engage and open up those channels of communication as well?
Yeah, I think it was obviously it was a tumultuous season last season. It was a very difficult one. I mean, the fans were upset. There's only so much that we can say as a board while we're talking to the manager about what's going on with the team and everything. So you know, there's certain that we can't really be responsible for handing out that sort of intimate information while it's going on at the time. You know, it's a fluid situation, especially when you're plummeting, as we were. Right, it was difficult. But you know, obviously there was some difficulties last season. There was some very passionate fans, if I can put it that way, and that's that's all good. But what we're looking for is is a positivity. Like, we're all in this together, right? And we're trying to move the club on, and so we need some positivity, not just outright. There was some real abuse last season, and we need to get away from that. It is a family club. We have got young kids. We've got it is a community-based thing. We want to. That's how we're going to increase our fan base. Is by bringing bringing families in and all the rest of it. That's what's going to happen. So, but we need a positive environment for that to happen.
And do you see that as a two-way street? Are there things that you, as a board, realise? I guess there's a lot of frustration about a lack of communication, and I get the stuff that you said about there's some stuff you can't talk about. Is there an appetite among the board to be a bit more proactive about?
Well, I don't want to just blame it on the thing, but this is part of the nomadic experience that we're in. Yeah. We don't have facilities to have a fans evening. We're having to meet the manager. Hopefully, I think what the date was, but we're trying to figure out a date for.
I think the guys.
So we're going to have some of that, but as I say again, it's not our place, right? So then we've got to pre-arrange to have those sort of exchanges and everything. I don't think the internet is really the place for it.
No.
I think we need to do it on a face-to-face basis at those times.
And in terms of other stuff going on around the club, I realise I'm wearing contraband in that we've got a new front, the shirt sponsor last season. Some people would say that our back line had grand openings written over it last season anyway, but that deserved, I thought, more of a laugh than it got. Is that kind of stuff looking good for the club? Is it a good deal? Are we still
absolutely? No. We're very happy with our new sponsor, Ben Flatt, and met him a good few times last season. He's passionate about the club as well. So this is all good for Kingstonian. We've got a few more boards up and things like that. And this is what we need to. That's our only sources of revenue apart from ticket sales.
We have also got Kingstonian Ted.
Yes, and that's going down. There's a whole bunch of them going down to Malawi. So
How are the playing staff going to negotiate with Kingstonian Ted? Is there a tactic for how that relationship works? Have you met Kingstonian Ted?
No, sorry, you've got the best of it at the moment. It sounds a terrifying figure.
Yeah, we'll quote you on that.
When you see him, but no, we've just got the little ones going down to Malawi.
And there was news this week as well about the ladies team shutting down. I don't know exactly what the relationship between the two clubs were, but
yeah, that's purely because of playing resources. They really just couldn't. That's not anything to do with Kingstonian FC as such. The reason that they've dissolved is that they just couldn't maintain the numbers they needed to have a team on the field every week or whatever. So that's the way that's gone for now.
Yeah.
But again, we see in the future. As Hayden says, the youth, the youth section had 18 teams, and as of this year, probably about 9. There's a lot of bigger clubs who are taking players, offering them things that we're not sure that they can provide. But Steve's doing a great job up there, and our under 18 team was 4th in the league last year, so we know that there's some youngsters. We had a couple on the bench last season. And again, this is all part and parcel of the future. It's not going to be quick, but when we do get our own place, if we do get 3G, if we do get all that, then there's going to be a lot more space and a lot more avenues for these other teams to train, play. Who knows?
Is 3G the plan for King George's?
It's tentatively.
Okay.
Yeah, it's certainly obviously a potential revenue for both clubs.
Yeah, usually.
So that's the way we're thinking at the moment.
Right. We'll draw this to a close, but I don't know if there's what would be your parting message this summer to the Kingstonian fans for both of you.
Just that we're an ambitious board, have an ambitious manager, and we're going to have ambitious players, and we've got ambitious supporters. We don't want to tread water. We want to get promoted. It may not happen this season. I hope we get in the playoffs. It would be nice to get into the playoffs at least to have a bit of excitement that way. That would be good. But we want to go on to the next level, and cup run. We had an atrocious. That was the other thing, right? Which didn't help.
Yeah.
On the financial side either, but cup runs are good for the budget and everything else. So we hope to improve on that. But
huge.
Looking forward to the 3rd round draw.
Spurs, you want, right?
Away, yeah. For the revenue.
I just want the supporters to come and join us. Come and join us in the ride. I think it's going to be really exciting times ahead. The team's excited. For me, I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to really getting down to work on the first day of pre-season, on the 29th of June. And I'm really optimistic about what we're going to achieve here. I'm realistic. I'd ask everybody to manage expectations. It's not the first time you've heard me say that. But I want you guys to come and join us in the ride. You're going to be our 12th man. One thing that I always say when I've played against Kingstonian is that they always generate a tremendous atmosphere in the ground. Let's do that this season. Let's have that positivity around the place that when the players need you, you're going to pull them over the line. So I'm looking forward to meeting everyone, and I'm looking forward to an enjoyable season.
Great. Well, thanks for your time, gentlemen, and we'll see you next season.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.